ever young? Or am I faking on the tip of my tongue? There's a sarcasm waiting for you. I'm willing to trade my soul for a bit of your charm. There's no way I'll fade into oblivion, 'cause I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. There's mud on the floor, disparate people trying to get through the door, although the room's already crowded. But I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. And keep trying again. I'll keep shining over you all with your wings entwining. You better face the fall. Zero, everybody's trying to be heroes when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. Are you okay? I'm not that sure.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome here to our coverage of race number 7, Season 5 of the UpperEdge Racing Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. Here this evening, we're at the shortest configuration track on the entire schedule. It's the 1.5-mile Atlanta Superspeedway as we get ready for the Sweet Home Atlanta 115. It's the only time you're going to get me to sing that here tonight for the title of this race. But this evening should be a good one. It's the third to last race of the season. We are in the home stretch towards the championship. We were originally supposed to run this racetrack prior to the Dega duels, but it got swapped with iRacing Superspeedway. It holds a more prevalent spot, I believe, here on the schedule and could very well play its part into who's hoisting the championship trophy at the conclusion of this one. It's the third time we've been at the Atlanta Superspeedway. We ran it twice last season. Dylan Poteet and Shane Tyrion both went to victory lane in those respective races, and Shane Tyrion comes into this race as a defending winner from last week. He, along with Benjamin White, ended up taking home 2 Dega duels. Dylan Poteet comes into this race runner-up in the point stands, a former winner from Daytona earlier on this season. He lost the points lead last week to a driver that brought it home in back-to-back top fives in both of the Dega duels last week, and that is Robert Kenny. Kenny, 12 points over Dylan Poteet coming into this evening. Got a big field here tonight, which means that a lot of points are going to be up for grabs, and We're going to be also getting an idea from the driver's point of view of what these particular racers will be dealing with this evening, as we'll be checking in occasionally with our in-race reporter, Matthew Rodriguez. But how about the front row? It's all Toyotas. Joey Chapman, we know he's very good at qualifying. Another pole position for him. And one of our winners from last week, Benjamin White, who actually brought it home in back-to-back podium finishes for his first 2 starts on the season. And he gets the outside of the front row here this evening, looking for what would end up being his second win in a row. Cam Barnes, we saw him run really well in the second dual race last week, finished inside of the top 5. He's going to be alongside of Matt Muir, a former winner on the season early on in the year at the season opener at Talladega Superspeedway. You're going to see a couple of new names in the field here tonight, including the 98. That is Mitchell Muma. We saw what Benjamin White in his debut last week was able to do. Keep an eye on some of these new names that we're going to be seeing during the course of this one. We've also got the 74 in the field, a new driver. I believe, if I can quickly get what his name is, as we're getting ready to go green. Green flag is in the air. I'll get an update on the 74 driver, Chris Sawyer. Be interesting to see what he's able to do here this evening, as leading him into turn number 1 is going to be the 60 of Joey Chapman. Been a long time since these drivers have run here at this racetrack in the Baadteshop Superspeedway Series. They had the opportunity with practice, group qualifying, to be able to test out the limits of this racetrack. Got told before they even went green, these drivers are going to be dealing with tight conditions, and how narrow this racetrack is might make things very interesting if someone tries to force the issue and take it 3 wide. For the moment, they're all going to keep it double wide here. Now, bear in mind, you see them going down there on the apron. Normally, if we were running the old version of Atlanta, that would be considered inbounds. In the Superspeedway type configuration, that is considered the double yellow line at Daytona and Talladega. That is out of bounds. But here in the Baadteshop Superspeedway Series, there are no out of boundaries here, and so they can go down there as much as they want. I think you'll see a lot of drivers kind of cut that apron on the front straightaway right here off of turn 4. Couple of drivers with their left sides down below that double white line with the red stripe in between. As to the lead, gonna go the 11 of Benjamin White with a push from Dustin Longston on that outside. So it looks like definitely multi-groove racing this evening. Feel like that middle line might be the preferred lane. You can hold it wide open a lot longer. I feel like the tight sensation these drivers will be feeling will be exacerbated more on that inside line. Yes, it's the shorter way around the racetrack, but it's more of an angle as well. You're carrying more speed into that area of the racetrack, and so you're going to be pushing up a lot more and probably having to feather the throttle if you're that second or third car in line, due to there possibly being some checkup going into turn 1 and into turn 3. Now Longston trying to get alongside of Benjamin White for the top position. Toyota's lined up nose to tail on the inside line. Chevy and Toyota on the outside line. Now Dylan Poteet up there on the top. We mentioned that he was actually the very first driver to take a checkered flag in this series back in season 4, the first time we came here to Atlanta Superspeedway. And of course, Poteet trying to get his season turned around after his victory at Daytona earlier on this year. He was the points leader, but after back-to-back poor performances at iRacing Superspeedway and the second Dega dual race last week, where in both races he ended up not only upside down but on his roof and had to finish multiple laps down due to having to take a tow, he is looking to get back to the top of the point standing. To see him there third on the outside lines, picked up a few spots since the drop of the green. Behind him, the 88 of Clint Spillman, the Hooter Chevrolet Camaro. We didn't see him last week at Talladega. Last time we saw him, I believe, was at iRacing Superspeedway a couple of weeks ago. Riding on board with him here. Watch the wheel motion as they go through the corners. Looks like they're pretty steady through the center of the corner and off. But here on this front straightaway especially, a lot of counter steering back and forth as the air moves around the D-shaped front straightaway, typical of Atlanta or Charlotte or Texas Motor Speedway. Your D-shaped mile-and-a-half's on the schedule. Makes things very interesting of trying to keep the bumpers lined up, especially on their area. Not as tough here on the back straightaway, pretty straight down from turn 2 to the entrance of turn 3, but especially on that front straightaway, very difficult to keep the bumpers lined up, keep the draft tight to be able to have your respective lane move and have the advantage going into turn 1. I believe I saw Matthew Rodriguez back there. He had all 4 tires down below the dotted or the double white line, trying to make up a couple of positions. Trying to make a move there on, I believe that is the 96. That would be Stanley. Not 100% certain who that is. The roster was not updated. Trying to check and see Derek Stanley in the 96. Started in 6th position. Currently now in the top 10, running solidly there. See Blake Trawick just kitty corner, and there's your points leader, just up there on the high side, that number 10 of Robert Kenny. He was in the conversation last week in both of the Dega duels to take the checkered flag. Came up just short on both occasions, but netted back-to-back top 5s. Because of that, he is your new points leader coming into this race. And now he's looking to pad that cushion in preparation for Daytona next week and, of course, the season finale at iRacing Superspeedway. Positions have changed up at the front. We saw Longston was on the outside Benjamin White. Now White has jumped up to the top. Longston has gone to the bottom. They've kind of swapped off drafting partners as well. Joey Chapman now behind the 33, Matt Muir behind the 11, and now Matt Muir, he's going to jump up to the right rear of Benjamin White. He wants to go to the point, looking for his second win on the season. Dylan Poteet right there behind him to offer the drafting help. Nice move there by Matt Muir. I'm not sure if the 11 was moving down to get in front of the 33 or if the 72 just kind of caught him out, but able to get to the outside of him there. Coming out of turn 4, Muir tried to get that push from Dylan Poteet, not quite able to do it. Benjamin White's going to lead that lap by just about maybe half a car length. They're organized very well on both lanes. It's going to come down to who slips up the most. Right there you saw the 31 of Poteet push up, the 6 of Chad Winstead push up a bit. That might help the inside line. You can see there clear on the top side is the 11. He could move up if he so chose, but he'll stay committed down to the bottom there with Longston and Joey Chapman for the time being. A lot more at stake here tonight, aside from a checkered flag and a lot of points payout. Last week, we ended up seeing Shane Tyrion and Benjamin White go to victory lane in the Dega duels. That locks them into the upcoming second Dash for Dong race. That will be at the season finale at iRacing Superspeedway. This evening's winner will also be eligible as the third driver in the Dash for Dong. Of course, the fourth driver will be added, whoever takes the checker flag when we head to Daytona next week. Whoa, looked like Longston thought about maybe sticking Benjamin White in the middle there. We saw from the back bumper of the JBL Toyota, the 33 step out for a moment. Steps back in line though. And that might allow Matt Muir the advantage he needed on that outside line. The 2 on the bottom getting a little broken up to maybe forge ahead. Look at the run by Chad Winstead here with our pan shot down the back straightaway. Was making that move all by himself. Now he'll pick up a fellow Ford Mustang and Blake Trawick. Doesn't look like they're going to go anywhere. And Trawick's going to get caught up on the top side now as Robert Kenny up the gut through the middle. He's got help from the 64 of DJ Stagner. Keep an eye on the drivers on this inside line. When we saw Winstead making that 3-wide move into 3, also saw Joey Chapman pushing up the racetrack. Those drivers on the bottom going to have a hard time. The longer the run goes on, the more heat that's put into that right front tire of keeping it pinned down on that double white line. They got to give room to that middle lane, but that middle lane's going to try and pin them down there as well. So got to be careful as, wow, a lot of moving there in the middle of the pack. I don't know if someone got the wall or what, but they were 3 wide and almost looking 4 wide for a brief moment. Robert Kenny was in the middle of all that. Chad Winstead as well. We got one driver in the wall. I believe that's John Poole, the third in the 32. He was in the wall in turn 1 and then rode the wall from the center of 1 and 2 all the way out onto the back straightaway. That's going to lose him momentum. Hopefully he can stay up with the lead draft. Another driver just brushed the wall right there off of turn 4. I believe that was the 61 of Bronson Stafford. So we're starting to see a lot of drivers pushing off the corner. The car's continuing to run tight, and they will continue to do so the longest run that goes on. Another driver into the wall. That was the 56 of Blake Trawick. We go to Darlington, and drivers get that souvenir, the patented Darlington stripe. I think here this evening, a lot of drivers are going to be leaving with some green paint on the right sides with the Atlanta Superspeedway stripe. As at the front, they cannot seem to get an advantage on each other. Still, the 11 on the bottom is now Winstead, who we're on board with. He's going to get up into the wall there in turn 1. Chad Winstead going to drop way back, and again you see him. It almost looks like he can't get back to the throttle. As soon as you get the wall, it just does not want to turn in that outside line. And I know that obviously tires are coming into play, but I wonder if there's a cushion there as well that they overstep. There's just no grip up there. They hit the marbles with the right side tires, and the car does not want to turn no matter how much they back off the throttle. More smoke. That's going to be Clint Spillman up and into the wall. The wall claiming more victims right now than anything as drivers continue to battle with ill-handling race cars, and the bad news for them is it's not going to get better until they come to pit road and put on some fresh Goodyears. A couple of drivers now sneaking their way up into the top 10. Bronson Stafford now up into the 9th position, 2-time champion. Was talking with him at the end of the Dega Duels last week, and he's just trying to find the luck that he's had in the previous seasons that he's been able to claim the championship. This season, it has just not been happening for him. Bronson coming into this race 12th in points, but he's only got one top 5 in the first 6 races this year, and that's his only top 10 as well. He is a total of 96 points out of the points lead, and based off of the point system they have, couple of top 5s leading into the finale could put him right back mathematically in the conversation for his 3rd championship trophy. But it's got to start tonight. I don't think he can wait until next week at Daytona to start getting on a hot streak. 5th car on that inside line, Sebastian Miller in the 83. Miller coming to this race 6th in the point standings, but made the highlight reel last week in the 2nd Dega Duel when he visited, well, I'm not exactly sure which galaxy he was in, but he went far and above the catch fence going into turn 1. Right now, trying to combat that wild ride he took last week. Making his way now, looks like around the 9th position as we got another car on the wall. Was that, I think, Stafford? Might have also been a combination of him and the 64 of DJ Stagner. Gotta wonder as well, these drivers that are getting up into the wall, some of them are brushing it, some of them are taking a pretty good shot. I think I just visibly saw some right front damage on the 61. The whole right side of the 80 Ed Clint Spillman is pancaked in. Super speedways are very aerodynamic, and I'm not necessarily certain if that damage on the front end of the race cars, especially on the right front, if that's going to affect the car for the remainder of this run. I would certainly have to think that if the cars are running tight, damage on the right front panel is going to make the cars even tighter through the corner. There you can clearly see there is some damage just up above that right front tire. We'll have to see if drivers that we've seen in the wall previously, if they'll be able to still make their way forward. Looks like one driver potentially is, Blake Trawick in the 56. We know he was into the wall earlier, and he's 5th on that outside line, so he's been able to recover a bit. Most of the other drivers we've seen in the wall, they're going backwards. The 88's back there, the 61's back there, the 64's back there. They've kind of stalled out in the positions they're in. They've not been able to make forward progress since getting into the wall. Matthew Rodriguez, you see him cutting there on the front straightaway. Doesn't look like it gained him much. If anything, I feel like it might have hurt him because you saw Bronson Stafford be able to get to his right rear quarter panel. Not necessarily certain that drivers will utilize that until much later on in this race, especially in the closing stages, because if you're the only driver that goes down there, yes, it's a shorter way around the racetrack, but at the same time, you're not getting the benefit of draft of the cars in line ahead of you. See right there, he actually lost about half a car length to Sebastian Miller. Unless you have a huge run, I'm not really sure there's much benefit of running down on the apron here at Atlanta. We've seen it iRacing Superspeedway in Talladega where you've got a lot of room, especially on the back straightaways there, to be able to maneuver with a big run. But you don't really have that much of an option here at Atlanta. I believe there's also a banking change there as well, a slight banking change, as we just had another car in the wall. I believe that might have been the 23 of DeRoser. Yes, it was, Cole DeRoser. in the Hot Wheels machine. And you can clearly see right front damage for him, so he hit that outside wall pretty good with the right side of his Toyota. We're watching a lot more of the stuff happening mid-pack, because up at the front, they're still kind of stacked up alongside each other. Neither lane can get an advantage. It has been Benjamin White against Dustin Longston for about the last 12, 13, 14 laps. Matt Muir and Joey Chapman have continued to be the second row. Cam Barnes and Dylan Pote have been the third row. This is not only the shortest super speedway on the schedule, but it's probably as well the most narrowest. We've yet to see them really force the issue 3 wide unless somebody runs into a problem and then they fan out to get around them. But we've remained double file pretty much the entirety of the top 10, top 12 ever since the drop of the green flag. With how narrow it is, drivers not sure they'd be able to give enough room, especially here in the corners for 3-wide situation. As a bit of a heart-stopping moment there on board with Matt Muir. The car he's pushing, Benjamin White, disappeared for a brief moment. Reappears in front of him though. A nice tight draft little push there just before the entrance of turn 3. Matt Muir trying to get Benjamin White clear of the 33 on the inside line. Saw another blink there out of the 11 car. Whoa, and look at that tight side draft there through the D-shaped front straightaway. White right down on the passenger side door of Dustin Longston, trying to gain the edge going into turn 1. Longston, I think, maybe has got White cleared for the first time in the last 10 laps. Nope, White's right back to his outside again. We're nearing halfway in this race already. No cautions up to this point. Big question mark as well is what's the fuel window for these drivers? If they do have to come to pit road for green flag pit stops, you know tires are probably going to be top of the list of what they want. Fuel's going to be an afterthought, even though you're going to probably need it to get to the end of this race. But they're going to want that extra grip with the fresh Goodyears. But you got to wonder how much practice was put into getting onto pit lane here at Daytona and Talladega. Even at iRacing Superspeedway, you've got that long runoff to be able to make an entry to the commitment line for pit road. Here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, you don't have that option. The configuration of this Atlanta, you can see as well, is different from what the NASCAR Cup Series ran this season, where they had that access road, the commitment line, over in turn 3, and then you ran the apron all the way around to the entrance of turn 4. Now the commitment line is at the exit of turn 4, so you got to get that thing woed up really quickly in just a matter of a few hundred feet to the commitment line. That might make things very testy in terms of where different drivers' braking zones are if we have a big pack have to make a pit stop under green. Longston is clear for the top spot. Joey Chapman with a nice push down the back straightaway that last time gets him clear of the top. Here comes that outside line again though. Longston committed to that inside line. It's been about 2 or 3 times now that he's been clear of Benjamin White, but he has stayed committed to the bottom of the racetrack, and that's allowed Benjamin White and Matt Muir's combination to get back alongside him once again. You got to wonder at some point here, does Longston get clear and jump up to that middle line to block that momentum? If he does, then does Joey Chapman have a strong enough car to get to the inside and eventually challenge for the race lead? But for now, we're back in a deadlock again between the 11 on the top and the 33 on the bottom. Update on a couple of drivers that have hit the wall. It has not panned out well for one of them, John Poole III, who we saw get into the wall for a good portion of 1 and 2. He has lost the draft, and he is currently in danger, if we continue to trend green, of going a lap down. He is just now, I believe, entering into turn 1. The field was coming out of turn 4, so he is more than 3/4 of a lap down, and if they encounter him, they're going to be at a tremendous rate of speed, much faster than he is right now as a single car. Going to be interesting to see how they make their way around him. John Poole III, 21st in points coming into this one. former pole sitter on the season, 149 points out of the points lead. And there's going to be a point, especially next week, where we'll be starting to keep an eye on where drivers are in relation to the points leader, because we'll be able to get a general idea of who still mathematically is eligible for the championship in a couple of weeks' time. Pretty impressed with our rookie class. We have been during the course of this entire season, but you've got 3 of them right now up inside of the top 6. Longston has been battling with Benjamin White the entirety of this run, both of them in the rookie class, and Cam Barnes, who had a top 5 run in the second Dega Duel race last week, been holding 3rd on that inside line pretty much ever since the drop of the green flag. I mentioned keep an eye on those new names that we had on the list on our starting grid. How about that 4th and 5th car on the inside line, the 96 and the 98. Derek Stanley in that white and blue 96 right in front of him. Mitchell Muma in the black and gold number 98 machine. Both of them doing very well in their debuts here this evening. We saw last week Benjamin White in only his 2nd start go to victory lane, so it's not outside the realm of possibility that a debuting driver could take the checkered flag here tonight. A lot of drivers that we mentioned as rookies donning the rookie stripes, they're rookies in name only. It doesn't mean they're coming into these races with absolutely no experience at their first time on the racetrack. It just means it's their first season in this particular series. As John Poole III there going a lap down, he's going to go down on the apron, try and let looks like as many of the leaders by as he possibly can. And Dustin Longston saw they were encountering the 32. He jumped up to the outside line to be able to go around him. That opened up the door down low, and Cam Barnes says, thank you very much. He's now going to try and put his Mustang out into the clean air and into the race lead. The driver who was running 3rd on that inside line for the entirety of this run, now with the aid of a lap machine, now going to go to the point, and he will lead that lap. Joey Chapman was able to get down to the inside line. Longston now with the 11 of Benjamin White as his drafting partner. And it looks like everybody there of our lead lap machines were able to get around 32 of John Poole III, who's going to, looks like, merge into the tail end of this group. Bronson Stafford, after we saw him into the wall, has made a nice recovery. He's now 3rd on that outside line. He's got his teammate Matt Muir there behind him. Those two trying to work together here. Matt Muir looking for his 2nd win on the season. Bronson Stafford looking for his 1st. And DJ Stagner, who I believe got in the wall the same time that Bronson Stafford did earlier on, he's now 5th on that outside line. So a couple of drivers now have been able to recover after brushing the wall. Doesn't look like that right front damage on the 61 is affecting him, as he's been able to slowly and methodically pick them off one at a time, and he's about to break into the top 5. One driver that has not been having the best of run in the last couple of laps is the 10 of Robert Kenny. And I think I saw there when we had that shot in the front straightaway, I think he's got some pretty good front end damage on his race car. Looks like he's run into the back of somebody. The front end all pushed in. That's where the radiator is housed. He's also got some right front damage as well. So I remember we had that checkup on the front straightaway at one point, and I don't know if maybe he ran into the back of somebody at that point in time, but clearly he's got some pretty extensive damage. Oh, maybe there's the culprit in that stack up as well. 2nd in points, Dylan Poteet. He's got damage on both the front and rear end of his race cars, so you have to think there was a multi-car stack up that our top 2 in points were caught up in. Interesting to see how that damage affects them for the remainder of this one, as these laps have been flying by. Granted, it's only a 1.5 mile racetrack, but we've now run 44 laps under green. And Cam Barnes clear up if he wanted it. Got really tight off the corner there. That scrubbed off speed, and that's going to allow Benjamin White back to his outside, looking back at Joey Chapman. Don't want to say anything and jinx him. We've talked about Joey Chapman, how good he's been at qualifying. Just doesn't seem like the results indicate how fast a car he has every single week. Been doing a great job here tonight. I don't think that car has fallen out of the top 5 all evening long. He's been able to be a really good pusher, whether he's been helping the top or the bottom of the racetrack. They're broken up, though, on that bottom line now. Bit of a gap from Chapman back to the 98 of Muma. That might help that outside line, which now has Bronson Stafford second in line. Stafford continues. Every time I look at our pylon, he's up another 1 or 2 positions every 5 laps in the books. Matt Muir now has jumped down to the bottom of the racetrack. You got to wonder if that's an indication of drivers potentially planning for green flag pit stops. You're going to be making a pit stop under green. You're probably going to want to do it from down here. You're not going to want to do it from the second lane. Stafford's now going to tuck in line in front of the 72, so I think that is a clear indication that we are going to have pit stops in the next couple of laps here. Drivers preparing for it, taking that ease of access inside line in order to get onto pit road safely. We haven't really seen pit road play much of a factor into the outcome of these races this year. Cautions have flown at times where it takes drivers out of the fuel window of needing to come to pit road, as Cam Barnes there, a little loose from the race lead. Was wondering if maybe he was having a problem, but he stays tucked there in front of Joey Chapman. And keep an eye on a bunch of these other drivers that are running just outside of the top 10. A lot of them just kind of lying in wait, waiting to see what happens. Chad Winstead peeking out of line back there. Like he was trying to make a move on Jason Shuey. Matthew Rodriguez up there on the outside line now. Saw him testing the waters of the apron in the early going of this race. He's been able to now crack the top 10 up to 9th. Onto the back bumper of the 11 of Benjamin White, who is starting to fade back now after everybody's moved down to the inside. Looks like the 11's moving down. Well, looked like he was trying to move down to the inside line there. But the 96 was in that lane. And now, whoa, here we go. They're pitting. Oh, and they're stacking up. And we got a car wrecking on the front straightaway. I don't know if that's going to bring out a yellow or not. Benjamin White is going to get onto pit road, but I think he missed the commitment line. Chapman made it on. Stafford, Matt Muir. We're still indicated green. I saw smoke. Maybe a car didn't go around. Maybe they were just hard on the brakes. Might have been Matthew Rodriguez who missed pit road. 33 of Dustin Longston there as well. He might be out of fuel. He might have missed pit road. And here comes DJ Stagner from second position onto pit lane. Poteet's in, Treywick. John Poole the third, almost into the back of the 56. Looks like Longston finally makes it on this time. Muma is in. A lot of damage on his car as he was involved in that stack up of the drivers that came to pit road of the first group. Now Sebastian Miller up in second. I like this right here. John Peterson utilizing the apron through 3 and 4 to be able to come to pit road. I know you're probably losing a little bit of time, but I feel like this is the safest way to get onto pit road to avoid what's going on right there, which I believe that is Matthew Rodriguez a bit out of shape, locking up those rear tires. That John Andretti throwback for John Peterson. Looks like Sean Billman, Cody Lama, Sam Dyer, Jason Shuey all in this lap. Dylan Poteet still with that front and rear end damage. This would have been an opportunity if drivers so chose to take on that fast repair. Looks like Poteet's going to stay with that damage for the time being. Maybe preparing for a late race yellow, maybe a big wreck in the closing stages. Wants to keep that fast repair in his hip pocket. Matthew Rodriguez back down pit road in the 51. I don't know if he missed his pit stall or if he might be serving a penalty here. Sebastian Miller also on pit lane. Oh, looks like actually maybe Miller and Rodriguez stayed out, so I'm not sure which car I misidentified when we were watching John Peterson come to pit road. Now it comes down to hoping that you merge out with a group, or at least with another car. You don't want to be by yourself. And right here might be where the lead cycles out to. DJ Stagner going to go around the outside of Cam Barnes. I believe he will cycle to the lead. Barnes into second, then Poteet in third. Got the lap car of John Poole the third behind him. There is Sebastian Miller just now leaving pit road, so that was the exchange for the race lead. And Cam Barnes with a step out there on DJ Stagner. These two fighting to see who wants to be the leader once the pack reels them in. Look at the run Dylan Poteet's getting with help from JP3. Stafford goes to the apron. We are almost 3 wide, 2 rows deep. Pulls in the wall. Almost contact between Chapman and Stagner. These drivers, as they start reeling each other in with these big runs, they want to take that momentum somewhere. But again, we've already established this is one of the narrowest super speedways that we're running here on the schedule. You make a mistake, it's going to have catastrophic results. This time by, going to be 20 laps to go. So pretty safe to say now, with them all coming to pit lane, they can make it the rest of the way on fuel. Be interesting to see if we have a late race yellow, if drivers would elect to come down pit road for fresh tires. Joey Chapman muscles his way to the inside and around Cam Barnes. He'll pull in behind his teammate Bronson Stafford into second place. Blake Trawick, our winner from iRacing Superspeedway near the beginning of the season, now third on that inside line. Looks like we've got a total of 9 lead lap cars up in this pack, back to Sebastian Miller. You then got to go another 6 seconds back before you find Chad Winstead, who I believe is running all by his lonesome. So he's got to rely on another group to maybe catch him, merge with them, and then they can try and concentrate on reeling in the top 9. There's the Mark Martin throwback of Chad Winstead, currently all by his lonesome. I think there's about another 2 seconds back to a group comprised of, I believe Sawyer is in that group. A couple of other, I think there's 4 of them: Stanley, Muma, Spillman, John Peterson, Cody Lamas in that pack. Sean Billman now is caught up to this group along with Matthew Rodriguez. They've all got to work together to try and reel in that lead pack, but I feel that's kind of easier said than done. Probably out of every racetrack on the schedule, Atlanta Superspeedway's got to be the toughest place to run single file, because you want to run the inside of the racetrack. And I already documented about the fact that these drivers are dealing with tight race cars as it is. You're going to have a lot of checkup in that single file formation also. So up here in this lead pack, looks like you've got 3 former winners on the season. Poteet, who won at Daytona, Trawick, who won at iRacing Superspeedway, and Matt Muir, who won the season opener at Talladega. Opportunity here for a bunch of first-time winners on the season. You've got 2-time champion Bronson Stafford leading the inside line. Joey Chapman right behind him. Top side, Cam Barnes trying to become the, I believe it'd be, second rookie to win on the season. DJ Stagner, who I think had maybe one of the best execution of getting onto pit road on entry, and that's how he gained all the track position he did. Third on that outside line. Sebastian Miller on the tail end of the outside line there, and then on the inside of him, points leader Robert Kenny, who is yet to find victory lane this season. But while this particular series puts a lot of emphasis on checkered flags, it also puts a lot of emphasis on consistency, which is a difficult thing to do when it comes to super speedway racing, because no 2 races are the same. No race strategy is ever the same week to week. Driver mistakes can end up costing you a good day, not of your own making. It's all the unpredictability of super speedway racing. Looking back here at this second pack, they have reeled in Chad Winstead, who will join their numbers, but it is looking like they are continuing to lose ground to that lead group. They were about 9.5 seconds back about 2 laps ago. That has increased to now nearing the 10-second bracket. So they are indeed losing ground to this lead group. They're going to have to rely on a yellow flag, I think, to get back into this conversation. And if you're up here in this lead group, I know you want to position yourself for late in this race to get that checkered flag, but at the same time, I think you're better off minding your P's and Q's. Give a little bit of extra room right now, because if you end up bringing out a yellow flag, it's no longer between 9 of you. You're going to bring about 20-plus drivers back into the conversation, nearing less than 10 to go. Another slow car there. That is the 23 of Cole DeRoser. Whoa, man, Joey Chapman having a tough time holding the bottom, forcing Cam Barnes up the racetrack. Looked like he was trying to get up to that middle groove so they could make their way around the wounded 23. Those two, the 60 and the 7, they've been making a little bit of contact even with the 60 on the bottom and the 7 in the middle line there. Chapman's been having a lot of difficulty holding that inside line all race long, but so far so good. Been able to keep that thing pointed in the right direction. It's not led to a wreck as of yet. That is going to hurt that inside line just a little bit, though, because Chapman's got to keep his nose right on the bumper of Bronson Stafford. Keep that draft tight. That outside line, as mentioned, they get a little bit more maneuverability, able to stay in the throttle a little bit longer. It's the longer way around the racetrack, but they get really good runs off of 2 and 4. And you see right there that 3-car push of Poole to Stagner to Poteet. Couldn't quite get Poteet up to Cam Barnes, but the momentum surge definitely goes to the top line when they head onto the back straightaway. Not necessarily as much about the front straightaway. I think they're pretty even. Maybe a slight advantage to the inside line, but the backstretch is where the outside line gets their advantage most often. Well, this race may be the shortest race of the season. Might potentially be the shortest race ever in the UpperEdge Racing Baadteshop Superspeedway Series, as we have, I can't say been clean since the drop of the green flag, but the flagman's had very little to do since waving the green to start this race. 66 laps completed, 9 laps to go, and now it's go time for these drivers, especially towards the back end of the pack. What can they do to get themselves up to the front? Whoa, little slight uneven bump maybe there from Chapman to Bronson Stafford. Got him squarely on the back straightaway. But we've seen where drivers have been a little on edge of trying to make a move 3 wide on the outside. If you're a Sebastian Miller, a Dustin Longston, Robert Kenny, you're gonna have to force the issue somehow, and that's Blake Trawick forcing the issue. Contact with Joey Chapman, sends Chapman up into Poole. Stagner is in it. That's gonna bring out the caution. Trawick tried to make something happen. He forced it to the inside going into turn 1 on Chapman. The 2 made contact, and Joey Chapman pays the biggest price out of it all, as the Louisville Bats Toyota Camry badly mangled on the driver's side, front end. Caution's gonna wave, and this is drivers 9th on back looking up to the sky saying thank you, because this is exactly the caution they needed to get back into this conversation. Some good race cars involved in this one, though, that were running up inside of the top 5. DJ Stagner got involved in this. John Poole III was collected up in it, and I believe he would have been in line to get the lucky dog, but being involved in this wreck, not sure if he would be eligible or not. Looked like there, Joey Chapman left the lane open. Trawick didn't even go down below the double white line. He was actually still up on the racing surface, a full lane available to him. And I don't know if Joey Chapman didn't realize that he was in the middle 3 wide or not, just kind of seemed to come down and not give Trawick much room. There you see. There's the contact. Trawick saves it, but then it drifts up the banking. It's like Stagner might be okay. He got up into the outside wall, but he might be all right. And Joey Chapman is the one that ends up going around. We saw there with that last shot that Trawick did go down below the double white line on the front straightaway there on the second crook of the D-shaped front straightaway. As you see there, Stagner goes for a slide, but keeps it going. But Trawick was alongside, and he was up on the racing surface when they entered into turn 1, so the contact leads to Joey Chapman falling back, and now comes the big question. If you're running mid-pack to rear of the field, do you come down pit road and put on tires? Is there any advantage in extra grip, extra speed to be able to make your way up to the front? Passing has been difficult today. Our first 25, 30 laps, our top 10 were pretty much exactly in the same spot, in the exact rows and the exact positions the entirety of that run. Very difficult for drivers to be able to make passes unless they capitalized on the mistake of other drivers around them. And here you see Dylan Poteet. Looks like he's electing to stay out in the 31 car. Trawick, Stagner, Miller, and Spillman right now going to be your top 5. Looks like a couple of drivers elected to come to pit road. Joey Chapman obviously amongst them, coming down getting some damage repair. As you see them do the choose cone there. Pote going to take the bottom of the racetrack. Blake Trawick right there with him. A couple of teammates. Trawick, we saw take the checkered flag at iRacing Superspeedway, and then Pote followed it out for Team Trap House the week after at Daytona. Both of them looking for their second win on the season. Pote trying to get back to the points lead that he lost after the Dega duels last week. Top side is going to be DJ Stagner. He's going to have Sebastian Miller as his drafting help. And he's been up in the top 10 all night. How about Mitchell Muma? Going to be restarting in the 5th position, that number 98. Clint Spillman going to be alongside of him. Looks like he may have taken on the faster pair there, the 88 car. He's got a new right side after he clobbered the wall back during that long green flag run. Bronson Stafford, the 2-time champ, is going to be lined up 4th on the inside line. And he's going to be alongside of, it looks like, the 96 of Derek Stanley, another debuting driver having a good run here this evening. Matt Muir, Cam Barnes, going to be the top 10 as we get ready to go back green. Well, they'll have 4 in regulation laps. Let's see if that's all we need. I believe if we have a caution come out from this point on before the waving of the white, we are heading into overtime as Dylan Poteet going to bring us down to the green flag. Going to get a good push there from Blake Trawick. DJ Stagner going to try and pin him down there, try and get that side draft going into turn 1. Sebastian Miller there with him. They need more drivers up on the back bumper to help them out. Let's see if maybe the 2-car tandem can work alone with the 64 and the 83, as Poteet is clear. I believe Trawick potentially could be clear as well on that inside line. Now they're side by side for 3rd. The Trap House teammates, the Ford Mustangs, right now P1, P2, and clear out in front for the moment. Matt Muir to the apron, Rodriguez to the apron. These drivers starting to get really testy. Rodriguez was in the grass. I guess that's not considered out of bounds either. That's about the lowest anybody's gone on the front straightaways. We're 3 wide, 4 wide, contact, Trawick around. He glitches into the 88 of Clint Spillman. Caution is gonna wave. The 56 of Trawick was having some blinking issues there in the 2nd position, and it looks like that might have led to the 4-wide situation off of 2. He gets hooked up into the outside wall. He was inside the 88 of Clint Spillman, but I don't think he necessarily damaged him. But running in 2nd place and now at the tail end of the field after the spin out for the previous winner on the season, Blake Trawick. And we will now, I believe, be heading into overtime. Watch here, the 56. Muma there on his outside. You see that push-up right there, and you can see the 56 kind of morphed into the 98. The hip boxes were red. 56 goes up the racetrack and into the 88 of Clint Spillman. Little shot there as well. I think that was Sean Billman passing by. Got a little bit of left side damage. And then a little bit of contact as well there for the NWO machine. Boy, a bunch of drivers I don't think got damaged, but they probably should have. Spillman, Sebastian Miller, DJ Stagner. And just like that, all the track position that Blake Trawick had gained is lost. He's going to be at the tail end of the pack here for this upcoming restart. And unless we end up taking the white flag and about 15, 16 cars wreck in front of him, I'm not necessarily certain he's going to be able to pick up his 2nd checkered flag of the season and win here tonight at Atlanta Superspeedway. Well, Dylan Poteet, this is going to hurt him as well because he had Blake Trawick as his wingman. The Team Trap House cars were working together. Now he's going to have somebody different behind him and more than likely not a teammate. Look at that. You want to see what the inside of a Xfinity car looks like? That was a little bit of a tour right there, courtesy of DJ Stagner as he went through the spinning 56. This is looking back from Dylan Poteet, the race leader. See right there, Muma was trying to make a move up the middle, and when the 56 of Trewick, who I think he got the apron and it got him a little loose, led up the racetrack, that's when the two of them made contact. Led to that wreck, which by all rights and purposes should have been a multi-car wreck out of the corner and out of the back straightaway. The fact that we got away with really only maybe about 2 or 3 cars sustaining damage is quite an amazing feat. Choose cone time here for these drivers. Lights out on the pace car, Dylan Poteet. 1 season ago, won the very first race here at the Atlanta Superspeedway. He would go on to be in the championship conversation in the season finale. Shane Tyrion was the other driver that went to victory lane the second time we came here to Atlanta Superspeedway. We've never had a repeat winner at this particular racetrack, and Dylan Poteet is looking to be the first. Looks like we got some potential argument over position there. Maybe some indication at the choose cone. Some issues on that potentially. We'll wait and see how that pans out. But Poteet's going to have Sebastian Miller behind him. Both those drivers didn't fare all that well last week at Talladega. Dylan Poteet did a bit of a nose grind, ended up on his roof, had to call for a tow in the second dual race. Sebastian Miller, as we've documented, went way up above the catch fence in one of the dual races, and both of them looking for a much better performance here tonight. Both of them up inside of the top 5. DJ Stagner is going to be the second place car on the outside of the front row. Bronson Stafford behind him in 4th, and then it'll be Mitchell Muma in the 5th position alongside of Clint Spillman. Overtime attempt number 1. If they get back to the white flag, we race to the checkers. If the caution comes out in this 1.5 miles, we rack them up and do it again. There's a big stack up in that 3rd row. Muma into the back of Miller. Puts him back to Cam Barnes. Outside line, Bronson Stafford. Pushing the 64 of DJ Stagner, trying to get him to the race lead. Robert Kenny loose back there around the 10th position. Trying to hang on to his points lead. Last driver he wants to see take the checkers is the guy that's 12 points behind him in the standings, Dylan Poteet, as they're going to make it to the white flag. 1 lap to go here at Atlanta Superspeedway. Oh, contact, Cam Barnes into Muma. Muir's around. Chapman's around. Big one. We've got 5 drivers left up here in this lead group. It's Stagner versus Poteet down the back straightaway, each with their respective pushers. Stagner going to get cleared, I think, for the top spot. Poteet looks to battle back. Gets to the left rear quarter panel. Could be a photo finish here tonight, folks. Poteet, Stagner, down the front straightaway. Poteet cuts it as close as he can. Stafford went up the middle, but I believe it was DJ Stagner on the outside line that picked up the victory here tonight. Indeed it was. He becomes yet another different winner on the season as DJ Stagner wins here this evening at Atlanta. The Sweet Home Atlanta 115 goes to DJ Stagner. Believe this is Stagner's 2nd win of his career. I'll double check on that. I know he was a former winner last year. Could be his 3rd of his career, but I will double check that fact. As Barney the flagman finally had some stuff to do here in the closing stages of this race, and he finally waves the checkers over the hood of the number 64 car. Stafford brings it home in 2nd, Poteet in 3rd. Look at that interval on our pylon. Top 3 separated by 6/100ths of a second. Well, pretty similar to our iRacing Superspeedway race a couple of weeks ago when there were only about 3 or 4 drivers left standing when they entered into turn 3 all the way back to the start-finish line. In this case, 5 drivers up in the lead pack as 6th place on back got swept up in that big wreck going into turn 1. And it was down to Poteet, Stagner, Stafford, Miller, and Spillman. Right there you see the survivors here at Atlanta Superspeedway. And DJ Stagner by a little less than a car length over Bronson Stafford. Look at that interval between the 61 and the 31. wild finish here tonight at Atlanta Superspeedway. Poteet not able to pick up the victory, but does bring it home on the podium, so it'll be interesting to see where this positions him as far as points are concerned. This put him back at the top of the heap. There you see what happened. Couple of incidents happening at the same time. The one further at the front was Cam Barnes pushing up into Mitchell Muma. And then further behind them looked like Matt Muir may have slid up into somebody. So we had two separate incidents take place, and it took out everybody from 6th place on back. Anybody that was lucky to avoid the incident would have netted themselves top 10 finishes, or at least those that were able to get their cars refired after the wreck would have at least been able to net top 10 finishes, which is where most of the points are paid out at the end of the night. Here's a look at it again in slow-mo. Heading into turn 1, Cam Barnes down on the apron. Makes a little contact with the left rear of Sebastian Miller and then pushes up the track. Muma doesn't give him room. You see there, Matt Muir looks like he got a little loose underneath of Chad Winstead. Joey Chapman almost was able to get through. He just barely gets clipped in the left rear quarter panel, and that's on from there. Everybody trying to hope that maybe the seas will part for them to be able to get through. Looks like Jason Shuey was able to muscle his way past the upside down number 7, who actually goes up and over the 56 of Blake Trawick. Cody Lamas got down to the apron and avoided as well. A couple of others were able to get down onto the apron and were able to sneak on by, and they're going to get some pretty good paid out points as a result of their wreck avoidance. All right, let's see. I think we've got our podium finishers on standby as we take another look there on board the Kelley Blue Book Ford Mustang of Cam Barnes. And watch this. Hopefully the camera survives. Well, kind of did. Up and over, up the banking there of turn 1. You know that that car is going fast if it's barrel rolling up the banking at a track like this. And then he throws it in reverse, and it's like he's trying to get back to the start-finish line. Joey Chapman with a little how do you do as they pass on by. Probably going to be some hurt feelings here this evening. A lot of drivers were in line for good finishes, and it all goes up in smoke and bent up sheet metal over in turn 1. Let's see if we can dial up our podium finishers here tonight. It's really close as to who we're interviewing for the 3rd or 2nd position, but it is Dylan Poteet who brings it home in 3rd place here tonight according to our finishing results. Let's see if we can talk with him. Hey Dylan, Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
Hi, how's it going?
Going good. Nice to see you finish a race on all 4 wheels this week, but let's talk about that final run, because you had a strong car all evening long, up inside of the top 10 for pretty much the entirety of this race. Closing stages, though, you go with track position over tires. You're up there at the front. You have the 56 there with you. Next thing you know, you've got a different drafting partner with you. So how difficult was it at that point in time, not knowing what the rest of the field was going to do behind you, to be able to play defense and be able to bring this thing home on the podium?
Well, I mean, I didn't even know. Once Blake got wrecked right there, I didn't know who was going to be behind me. I honestly thought it was going to be Bronson, because I assumed the 64 and 83 were going to stick together, but I was actually surprised to see Sebi come down and help me, and I appreciate him trying to help me there at the end. We were both wounded. We both had a lot of damage, and yeah, I mean, I thought we were okay. Just once the field wrecked there on that last bunch, we lost any drafting help we had on the inside, and it just kind of killed our momentum for the rest of the way. And I think DJ and I kind of hit each other down the backstretch a little bit, and then I think Bronson was also attached to him at the same time, so that may have killed any momentum I had going into 3. And I don't know, it was kind of over at that point. I kind of knew in the middle of the corner that I wasn't going to get him, so I just tried to ditch effort. Like the last ditch effort, just cut down there, and it might honestly cost me 2nd to Bronson. I thought I actually finished 2nd, but it is what it is. Like you said, I'm glad I finished on all 4 wheels this week. I honestly thought something bad was going to happen again in this race, and it was tough. We were just kind of, I mean, I'm happy we had a clean race. It was definitely a tough race to try to get to the front and do stuff. It was just so hard to pass and get a line going. So all in all, happy to get 3rd, and helps a lot in the points. I think actually, I'm not sure where Kenny finished in the race, because that's who I was chasing in points. So I think I had a pretty good points day, maybe got back to the points lead.
Yeah, 12 points behind Kenny coming to this one. It'll be interesting to see where you are positioned. I think you might be the points leader, but we'll have to wait till all is calculated. Now, your race was not necessarily without incident either. We're assuming that there was a bit of a stack up. We saw you had some front and back end damage, but talking about this particular racetrack, between seasons 3 and 4 here, the Baadteshop Super Speedway series, iRacing Super Speedway makes its appearance on iRacing. I mean, you had the first victory at this racetrack in this series. Was there anything from that previous race, and of course you took part in the second race as well, that you were able to apply in this one, or were you dealing with an entirely different animal? Because we know that this racetrack, this particular venue, was swapped with iRacing Super Speedway. We were supposed to run this about 2 weeks ago. There were some issues with trying to get it where this track had some decent racing with this particular car. What was there that you were able to maybe lean on as far as experience at this racetrack to be able to be up front all night long and eventually finish well?
Well, it started off just make sure we qualified well, and I wish I would have qualified better than eighth because I knew it was going to be tough to pass. I feel like in the newer Xfinity car we used to run, I feel like it was a little bit easier to get to the front to the back and have runs. The only other thing I could really correlate from the old races is just the tire wear because it's not really a natural super speedway. We're still on a mile and a half with the setup like a super speedway, and it's tough because you're having to deal with the tire wear and it gets tight and stuff. But I mean, outside of that, it was just hard. Like you can't really control the race unless you were up front, qualified up front. So I felt like I was already at a deficit from the start, and just it was tough. I was pushing Matt Muir for everything I had, try to get him up to the lead, and it seemed like every time we get up there, like I think it was the 33 or the 11 would get up in front of us and check everybody up, and we just rinse, repeat. So that's what a big reason why I also wanted to do that staying out there at the end because we already had taken like 2 tires, and that's what got us up there in that front pack closer to the front. And once I saw the leaders pit, I was like, well, I really wanted the track position, and it's just so hard to. You're like you don't want to give it up, and you just want to stay up front because it's just so hard to pass. Once you're mired back in traffic, even 4 or 5 cars back on the either lane, like you're just stuck there, and it was just so hard to pass. So I just wanted to make sure we had at least a fighting chance to try to win the race tonight. Just it came up a little bit short. I just trying to get a little bit more consistent. I just seem like I'll have a couple good weeks and then just destroy it all in another week. So I'm trying to see if we can finish out the season strong and just try to go out there and have a good shot at trying to win the championship and maybe try to get back to victory lane again. So I can't be too mad for a third though overall.
Well, in hindsight, that call to stay out for track position may have very well kept you out of that last lap wreck. You bring it home on the podium in the third position here tonight. Congratulations on the great run, Dylan. Before we let you go, we'll give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
I just want to thank everybody, Team Trap House, once again. We had a couple of us here tonight. We had a couple missing, but Blake Trawick was here with us, John Poole the third. We had Chad Winstead. We had Cole as well. And like I said, I want to give a shout out to Seb there at the end for helping me try to get that win. I appreciate the help regardless. And it was fun. Thank you guys for putting on the race again. And thank you guys for also doing the broadcast like always. I was hoping that we would have got to get the broadcast of the race I won, but it's probably going to be lost in the archives forever at this point. But it is what it is. But just thanks for everybody watching. And hopefully I'll be back here to talk to you maybe next week.
Absolutely. I'm also just going to point out, too, we didn't broadcast the race you won. The following 2 races, you ended up on your roof. So maybe there's something in that where we shouldn't broadcast and you'll do better.
I mean, yeah, well, I like watching them still, just not when I'm upside down like a turtle. So
Yeah, true, true. That's Dylan Poteet. He brings it home third place here tonight, maybe putting him back at the top of the point stands heading into Daytona, a track that he won at previously this season next week. Best of luck there, Dylan. Congrats on the good run tonight.
yeah, hope we can go repeat.
Dylan Poteet for Team Trap House brings it home in P3. We had 3 drivers out of 3 different teams go into the podium tonight. Let's talk with the representative out of Swamp Motorsports. Our correction. We're actually gonna go to him down in Victory Lane afterwards. We're skipping over accidentally the 2-time champ. How do we do that? Let's actually go to Sky Motorsports representative in the top 3. Let's dial up to second place finisher Bronson Stafford. Hey Bronson, Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got me?
I do. Hi, Seth.
Well, man, I'll tell you what. I talked to you last week after the Dega duels. You said, man, the luck's just not coming my way. Here tonight, though, you had a very strong machine. Even after you got into the wall in the middle portion of this race, we saw you methodically pick them off one by one, make your way back into the top 10, eventually into the top 5, and up in the conversation for this victory here tonight. We saw a lot of drivers kind of just stay where they were position-wise all race. You seem to be the only one moving forward. What did you find that allowed you to be able to make passes?
I just saved the right front tire for this track kind of thing. I did it in NIS a couple weeks ago, and was able to go from 18th to the lead on a 50-lap green flag run on the outside, and just kind of did the same thing here. It worked out. I think I was running like 18th at one point, and by the time we got to pit stops, I was up to third or fourth. So, and then yeah, we had really good pit stops as a team, and we're able to get the lead there until the yellow, and won tires back on it. Just needed more laps or more help kind of thing. But second's all right. Finally, after so many weeks of being in the top 10 on the white and then not finishing in the top 15.
Now, obviously, we know that Atlanta Superspeedway, completely different animal to the other racetracks we go to on the schedule. Bigger racetracks like Daytona, Talladega, iRacing Superspeedway, we see drivers be able to generate runs and make moves. Here tonight, was there any way to generate runs? Because I saw you actually make that move up the middle coming to the start-finish line. Looked like you were able to make that move by yourself, but it didn't really look like anybody was able to, through the field, be able to make moves by themselves. Is that just because everybody was so stacked up and nobody was willing to venture up there to the unpredictability of the third lane?
It's kind of a combination. It's you kind of go through. I think people go about this two ways. They stay full throttle until the car gets tight, and then it's just kind of the two lanes be like the three-ish lanes become only two lanes, and it's really hard to do anything. That first run, I kept trying the top lane, and the only reason it wouldn't work was I think just everyone else burnt their tires so much off of turn 2. It pushes really bad, and it would just, the gap would just tighten to the wall, so you weren't able to use the third lane except for in 3 and 4 in the front stretch. But if you weren't clear, you'd lose all the spots by the time you got off of turn 2. Runs were weird. Never really full throttle until the exit in the straightaway kind of thing. So it's kind of like you're trying to time when you're back on the throttle to get a run. It's kind of like old school plate races. It's a lot of fun. This track is a lot of fun when it goes green. You can actually make moves and stuff with that, but it's really hard. You typically do need like a second person. I think all night the leader was at the mercy of whoever was pushing them for how much they'd push, whether or not you'd keep the lead or not. It was hard to do anything on your own, really.
Talk about another big moment of this race, and that was the fact that we ended up for the first time this season seeing you guys making green flag pit stops at this racetrack of all places. You and a bunch of teammates elected to be the first group onto pit road, and that ultimately gained you track position to be up in the lead pack. How much practice, how much emphasis did you put into green flag pit stops, maybe preparing for something like that here tonight? Or was it hopefully maybe a little bit of previous experience in another series or something that helped you to be able to call that strategy to get onto pit road, execute correctly, and eventually be up in the lead group?
Would you believe me if I said 0?
I would
Because
actually. I would believe you.
I did one practice pit stop at the end of practice on pretty new tires, and I was like, oh, it'd be funny if this is the race we get green flag stops, right? And then it happened, and everyone was like, I don't know where to enter pit road here. I was like, the billboards in turn 4, that's your breaking point. Good luck.
Well, it was definitely interesting to watch here. We saw a couple of drivers miss pit road, hit the wall. Nobody ever wrecked, so it ended up being a complete cycle green flag pit stops. I think much like you drivers, we up here in the booth didn't necessarily have that on our bingo card here tonight, but it was definitely fun for us to watch. Probably nerve-wracking for you guys down there in the cars, but hopefully the fans enjoyed it as well. Bronson, a great run for you here tonight, getting back on track. You still got a mathematical shot at this championship as well with 2 races to go, so best of luck down this home stretch. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Oh yeah, just the entire Skynor Sports Hula Monkey team, and we had Sam Dyer with us tonight, who's not on either of the teams, but he races with us. We're missing a couple of people tonight. I know Shane wasn't here, Tom wasn't here, Mike wasn't here. Rare that Mike wasn't here. That was a weird one, but we made do. We ran good. Obviously, the last lap wreck took out I think Matt and Joey, and I think Matt Rod was already messed up somewhere from I think green flag stops or something. But all ran good. Obviously, you guys throwing broadcast. I know Jeff's not feeling great here. I miss his voice so much already, but he's here anyway broadcasting. You guys do a lot of fun. It's looked good this season too. The whole rebrand and whatnot looks good. And obviously, Matt Rod's still putting this league together, even though I know he barely has the time for anything anymore.
Well, Bronson Stafford's second place finish here tonight. Looking to get this thing back on track down the final couple of races of the schedule. Looking to be a three-time champion of the Baadteshop Super Speedway Series. Congratulations on the good run here tonight. Strong car this evening, and looking forward to seeing you continue this next week at Daytona.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Now let's see if we can go down to victory lane and get the Swamp Motorsports representative in the top three. I did check back. It's his third career victory in the series. He was a two-time winner back in season 4. It's his first victory of season 5. Let's dial up DJ Stagner. DJ, Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Sure do.
Wild, wild race here tonight. Came down to a green-white checkered, but a lot of eventful stuff happening up until that point. We had about nearly 70 laps of green flag racing, a green flag pit stop in the middle of it. Seemed like you guys had to execute a little bit of everything here this evening for you eventually to be up there in the conversation for that checkered flag.
Yeah, that was a tough race. Passing was not easy, so had to save a little bit of tire and hopefully get positioned for the pit stop. And luckily, I don't know if they had trouble behind me or what happened getting on the pit road, but I was able to have a really clean entry and just assumed track position there that I had not had all race because I started in the back. So at that point, it turned into a survival race. Catch a few breaks with the 56. I think he net coded straight through the car at one point. You can't win these races on skill. Luck plays a role, and it definitely played a role tonight.
Couple of victories last season for you. This season, though, I know you've run a limited schedule, missed a couple of races, but amazingly, I looked at the stats, couldn't believe only one top 5 coming into this race. So how good does it feel to kind of get a little bit of momentum here now after what's been a bit of a struggling season 5?
It feels good. I mean, I love the Superspeedway series. I know it's some people, it's love or hate, but I love this style of racing. So I've always enjoyed this series a lot, and I'm one that hopes it continues into the future because I love this style of racing so much. But it definitely feels good to in this league particularly turn the luck around a little bit, and because tonight a lot of it was luck. It wasn't. I don't think I did anything spectacularly tonight. I just think it all played out well, played out in my hands.
Well, maybe one of the key moments there at the end as well with the choose cone. You elected to take the outside line. Now, we saw both the inside and the outside line get the advantage during the course of this race. Was that just a call of if you were on the inside, you were going to probably just be stuck behind the 31 all race, so you might as well try and make something happen, being the first car leading a lane on that final green-white checkered?
My style of play racing, I would say it's in my playbook to never choose the bottom on a late race restart unless you can be in the front row because the best you're going to do is follow them. Like you can't win from the bottom. That's my philosophy. Um, that's pretty much why I chose the top. Plus, I had been running the top all race long, and it just felt better on the car because I could. A lot of us took 2 tires under the green flag stop, and I didn't pit again, so I was just on 2 right side tires. So choosing the top, you can kind of keep it wound up a little bit, and with just keep the momentum up running through there. So that's why I chose the top, really.
Well, previous victories last season at iRacing Super Speedway and Talladega. Win here tonight at Atlanta, so one away from the quadfecta. Might be able to get that quadfecta next week at Daytona. DJ, we'll let you get back to your celebrating down there in Victory Lane, but before we do, we'll give you that opportunity to thank some sponsors, do some shout-outs here tonight.
Just thanks everybody at Swap Motorsports and Sebi, Sebastian Miller, Curtis Granger was in there, Ryan Potter, Sean Billman. We were all trying to work together as a team. It didn't really always go great because my headset died like before the first green flag pit stop. And I wasn't able to get it plugged back in until the last restart. So I was in the dark for most of the race, but just shout out to all them, Ty, Connor, Lucas, everybody on Swap Motorsports. It's been a good ride, good few weeks here. Got to keep it up.
Well, DJ Stagner takes home the Sweet Home Atlanta 115 at the Atlanta Super Speedway here tonight. We knew it was going to be an X Factor race. It certainly was that. And DJ Stagner leads the most important lap of the night, claiming the checkered flag. Congratulations on the job well done there, DJ. Best of luck here in these final 2 races down the home stretch of this season.
All right, thank you.
DJ Stagner with his third career victory here in the Body Shop Super Speedway Series. Another photo finish. Doesn't matter if we've got the old surface or the Super Speedway surface of Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's always going to bring about an exciting photo finish for the fans. Here's a look at your finishing results here tonight. We've talked with our top three. Sebastian Miller bringing it home strong in the fourth position. Clint Spillman, good run for the rookie as he'll net a top 5. And then these were the drivers I mentioned. If you could get through that wreck, you were probably going to have a decent run at the end of the evening. Jason Shuey got his way through to get 6th. Blake Trawick, after he brought out the next to last caution, he's going to bring it home 7th. Chris Sawyer, what a debut for the 74 car here tonight. He nets 8th. Joey Chapman will bring it home in 9th. He was the second to last caution of the evening. And then Matthew Rodriguez going to bring it home inside the top 10. Those 6th through 10th position all able to make their way through that final wreck on the final lap. John Peterson going to bring it home 11th. Mitchell Mooman, his debut 12th. Chad Winstead 13th. Cam Barnes, who ran a great race all night up inside of the top 5 for the first 2/3 of this event, going to finish back in 14th. Derek Stanley 15th. Matt Muir in 16th. Robert Kenny all the way back in 17th, so safe to say only 12 points up on Dylan Poteet, and Poteet finishing on the podium. We're going to have a new points leader heading into Daytona. Sean Billman, Cody Lamas, and Sam Dyer were the completion of your top 20. Rest of the drivers that finished out this race all also caught up in some incidents tonight. A couple of them getting trapped a lap down during the long green flag run. John Poole III, Colder Rosers fell into that category. Dustin Longston, who had a strong machine, actually led a few laps tonight, along with Benjamin White. Those two were battling side by side for about 10-15 laps for the race lead. They're going to suffer 23rd and 24th place finishes here in this one. Well, that's going to conclude our coverage here from the Atlanta Super Speedway. The Sweet Home Atlanta 115 goes to DJ Stagner. Only 2 more races left on the season next week. Join us Friday evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we are back at the Daytona International Speedway. That will set us up who mathematically will be in the championship when we head to the high banks of Talladega Super Speedway. Going to be very interesting to see how those 2 racetracks come into play into who's hoisting the trophy here in Season 5. Big thank you to our producer, Jeff Johnson, for the amazing photos here tonight. The amazing replays, appreciate him. Thank you all for tuning into our coverage here this evening on Split Second Broadcasting on the Twitch side, Flatout Racing Network on the YouTube side. Until next week, I've been Seth Cole. Have a great rest of your evening, folks. See you later.